Right, so why don't we get started, I guess? Um, let's talk about the deck list real quick, and I guess you can tell me why you think this approach is a better idea than other builds in the past. I think specifically the color requirements are what worry me.
Right, right. Well, I don't know. I just wanted to try things, to be honest. I've been kind of like playing a lot of red green. So I was like, let's do different things. Uro's obviously super powerful.
Hmm.
Drawing gaining life helps a lot against Delver, and Delver's been like not as good as it has been in the past, though it's still probably a good matchup. Um, yeah, so I thought that being able to incorporate Uro would give you that angle against Delver, and like put pressure on Swords of Plowshares so your Merit Lages can get through against white decks as well. And then Saga is just very good. Obviously, I had to cut ports for this kind of build.
Hmm. So I think my major concern with Uro is if you count the number of blue sources, including Mock Simon, the answer is nine. And
Yeah,
that's really I don't know how to put it. I don't think that's really acceptable. In like, I would only be comfortable with like at least 12. That's always kind of been the issue with the three color builds. Once you play that many colorless lands, it's hard to get to the correct number of sources to really make your mana not cause you to mulligan, I guess is how I would put it. Because I think you would probably find yourself mulligan a lot with no blue or no green, or just having issues in general, unless if you have mocks in all of your opening hand, which case everything works itself out.
yeah, yeah.
It's just a four color loam problem, except you've incorporated it into this deck instead, because I don't think four color loam really functions without Mock Simon in its hand basically ever.
Yeah,
And
for problem, yeah.
so I kind of think you might want to reevaluate that of the deck. But if you do want to play that, I really think you should play the first Ketria Triome over Taiga, the second Taiga.
Yeah, I think the second Taiga has actually not been very impressive for me, and the Ketria Triumph would be better. I mean, loam plus fetch land, it kind of alleviates some of the double blue thing. Expedition map is another
Mhm.
way to fix it, though. You really don't want to fetch for a trop with an expedition map or
Well,
something.
here's the
But
thing: you only have two fetch lands in your deck too. Like, there's a lot of issues with
yeah,
that approach. I think you've really kind of pushed it a lot in directions that could be honestly avoided if you just shaved down on the color requirements. Only played one Uro at most, maybe, or something like that, and just played a few more lands. I think there's a temptation for greed because all of the times you open with mocks, you never notice all of these issues because they don't happen. They just don't occur. But in all of the games where you don't have a mocks, I think the problems are felt severely.
yeah, it would be nice to have a third fetch land too.
Yeah. So I think if you do want to continue this path, you definitely should play the Ketria Triumph, and you definitely should play another fetch land. And honestly, like I am pretty pro for Dark Depths. I still am, but if you want to take this sort of approach, I'm not sure you need Field of the Dead and Urza Saga. I think that's like a little bit overkill. To be quite fair.
Yeah, I might move field to the board. It is better against control in general, I found, especially because they sometimes have back to basics and stuff.
Hmm.
But that could be cut for the Ketria Triome or for maybe for the third fetch land and then just turn a Taiga into a Triome. Um,
Yeah. So those were
yeah.
those are the primary thoughts I had for on the deck. The other thing about life gain is I think in just straight red green you can just play Shadow Spear, and I've been thinking about that.
Has it been good for you or?
No, but just watching other formats, I just think Shadow Spear would solve all of your life gain problems. Like, and
That's
also gives
interesting.
Merit Wage Trample and +1/+1.
That's true. I know people have like kicked around the idea, but I've never seen anyone like actually play it. So if you wanted that, you'd probably like four sagas and maybe some reclaimers too.
I'm not as high on Reclaimer as other people, and you know my feelings on
I'm not
it.
either, to be
I
honest. But
I I don't really like it, especially in game one, because the problem is people just have random like removal spells lying around. You could argue that Urza Saga is bad versus removal, except it's not because it forces them to have two removal spells instead of just one. Like the point is to create unfavorable exchanges for them, not for you. If
oh
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
if you put Reclaimer in your deck and they just have a dead Fatal Push lying around, it's really not what I want to be doing, especially in game one.
I mean, there is like the idea of overloading them, right? So if Saga takes 2 of their spells, then the Reclaimer can live, or like sacking Saga with the last trigger on the stack is like kind of cool. But I'm in generally like not been high on Saga. I mean Reclaimer.
Well, the problem with that philosophy, I think, is exactly that. Okay, if they're trading terminal spells for your saga, that's a really good exchange for you. But if you have to play Reclaimer early and you often want to, they're just going to kill that one instead, and then like that's not a good exchange for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of strategic mismatch, creating the strategic mismatch that the deck has done so in the past, rather than you know trying to overload. I think overloading is good for a deck like Affinity or like a creature heavy deck. It's not so good for a deck like this because it doesn't really work that way. Because you do overload removal with Loam plus Saga, where if you put Reclaimer in your main deck, it doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that
at the end of the day, you still only have Sagas and Reclaimers as targets, so you're not really going to. Anyway, yeah.
right. And I don't know what your experience has been with Valakut Exploration in this type of build. I'm not as high on the card once you put Urza Saga in deck. I think I've made that kind of clear, but it is worth having in a small number, I suppose.
Yeah, it just takes over games against things like D&T, which is like I don't know
But
value.
I
It's not
kind
as
of
good now that Prismatic Ending's around too.
I kind of think if you play Urza Saga plus Shadow Spear, you'll crush D&T. Like that's another matchup where I think Shadow Spear is actually really good because the constructs plus Shadow Spear are really hard for them to deal with.
Well, maybe it would be interesting to like build that Shadow Spear idea together if that's okay.
Yeah, it
I'm
might be
not gonna.
better. It might be better to do that at the end. I
Okay.
just want to bring up ideas for matchups, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't main deck the Pirate Spell Bomb, but that's really just, I suppose, a metagame call as well.
Yeah, I brought it in a lot, but
Yeah, I
Needle is just so good in like against your worst matchups. So,
well, it's just kind of that I think you can just main deck both and just I don't know. I would probably just play the first one over the third punching
yeah,
fire because they live
that's
in
how I
the
would
same
recommend on it.
space and it's low cost and like if you draw it natural, you just play it and then you can cycle it if it's not good in a matchup. Like think of matchups where you just want to cycle towards your real cards, then you just do that and fine. It's not a great rate. Oh, the other thing about Catria Triumph is once you're established, it's the best card to sack to
Yeah,
crop rotation, similar to Sheltered Thicket. But I think in a 3-color deck, you definitely should play Catria Triumph over Sheltered Thicket. Well,
yeah. Now we have like loan protection 3 ways if we want it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's about all of the thoughts I had on this. Like it's well, you've obviously chosen to do this, and it's reasonable, you know. So why don't you show me some of the interesting situations, I guess, from the challenge yesterday?
Sure,
Or
sure. Well, I wanted to get your feel for like how do you in general approach certain matchups or just the big deck in general.
oh,
Um,
sure. I mean, that is very, deck by deck dependent, obviously.
like what do you mean deck by deck? Like different.
Like it A depends on the deck list you play against, and B depends on the player. Different players can definitely play a deck very differently.
Yeah. So how do you do it? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really. Do you have like a specific matchup in mind, or because
Uh,
I don't really want to list like every single matchup in Legacy because there's too many of
oh
those.
yeah. Okay. I thought I just like in general, but yeah. Okay.
Oh,
But it is like matchup dependent too, so I get that.
yeah, it's matchup dependent, and I think I play a lot more aggressively than a lot of other people. I'm willing to take a lot more risks because like you just have to think about it. If you give me, I mean, do you want to shorten games or lengthen games? Is the general philosophical question. And I think versus a lot of decks, you actually want to shorten games, and that's why I like playing with 4 Dark Depths, because
Yeah.
then you can always just push that. Well, I don't really have anything going on. I'll just see if you're dead, and like some percentage of the time they're just dead, and that's kind of nice to have in a deck.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I really liked about Lance coming from like miracles, that you could just like kill them if you wanted to.
I mean, I think a lot of people are not comfortable with that playstyle, but I used to play Ravager Affinity, which also did the same thing. Where it's just like, well, I don't really have anything going on. I guess I'll just see if you're dead, and it kind of works the same way.
So not obviously you have to do that like when your hand is a certain way, but are there certain matchups where you do that? Like I guess against combo.
Yeah, just
Uh,
any deck where it looks like they're gonna kill you within a few turns, you should just be like, okay, I'll put you in check. If you have like a Caracas or a Plow or something, sure, whatever. Maybe I'll draw my loam and get to do it all over again. But especially if they have like, land Allosaur Shepherd or something like that, you should just push on the pedal and see if it's dead.
yeah. Well, so this is elves here. You can just tell me how it goes. I'm not super familiar with how fast it replays, so maybe I need to change
Oh
how I
no.
do it.
So the middle button just advances a little bit instead of playing it out.
Okay, so I'll start it over and do it that way.
I mean, we can discuss the opening hand. I
Yeah.
don't know. Okay, do you play these challenges blind or do you look them up?
Do I look the players up?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I do. Some of them like
Oh,
I just know. This guy I looked up, I knew he was elves.
right. That person I know that they're generally elves as well. Okay. I mean, so actually, it sounds like kind of close for ourselves, but it's probably not good enough.
Yeah, my
Uh,
feeling was it was slow, but
yeah, the problem is you don't have Glacial Chasm anymore.
right.
That used to be like the most important card in the matchup, and now since that doesn't happen anymore, the actual answer is you're supposed to just depths them basically every game one.
Well, speaking of that, do you have any thoughts on Chasm? Because I have considered putting it in again. I mean, that list that we just saw now has like 17 green sources, so I could like shave one maybe. But I mean, obviously with Uro, that's sketchy. But
Um, I guess structurally speaking, Chasm's kind of well positioned again, like versus blue, red, and elves, and also your loams are not forced or force of negation as much
yeah,
anymore in game one, so it might be worth it. Uh, it also just might be worth sideboarding, honestly, which kind of looks goofy, but
yeah,
it is something you could do, and perhaps you want to do that. It does gain you a lot of points versus blue, red, and elves. I agree with that.
yeah. I've been playing it in paper and it's been doing well for me. So okay. Well, anyway, I decided to mold it because it was slow, but it
Yeah,
sounds like it's
it
close.
that's definitely a sketcher. Uh, this, I mean, it has everything you want pretty much. The demand of this hand is just you draw some mana sources.
Yeah,
It actually does have to be mana sources. Like you draw like Tabernacle or Maze here, it's really not great. I mean, I
yeah.
guess Tab is fine if you know they're elves for sure, but
All right. Well, then this game might not end up being that interesting because I kept it based on that. Put a Valakut on the bottom, I think.
yeah, I mean this hand's excellent in the matchup. Like this hand's actually good versus everything, so that's the other thing that's nice about
Yeah.
it.
You just have to like find a land so you can get to Valakut, and then
Yep.
hopefully the land. Yeah. And then I'll just kind of speed it up. Well, basically, I think this game might not be as fascinating, but what happens is I just don't find a land.
Yeah, I mean sometimes that happens.
Maybe there's like points where I could have done things differently.
Well, let's see what you draw here. There's
Mhm.
always the consideration for, just rotating for the tabernacle to try to slow them down. The issue is don't really have another mana source after that. But if you don't draw a land, it's definitely going to be bad news.
Yeah, so I was like not sure because Heritage Druid makes Tabernacle like fine because they can't really attack you, but not like actually going to kill anything, you know?
Well, I
This,
think with that draw, you should just punching fire the druid probably. The
okay,
reason to do
then,
that is that it cuts off, 3 mana.
yeah,
So
I
the
guess we're
shepherds are only 1/1s for one at this point. I mean, obviously you're in bad shape. Oh, and the cradle's an incredible draw plus the visionary.
yeah.
You
All
know,
right, well then
it's.
this game just I get Tabernacle next turn, but it's pretty much over because
I
we're about
mean,
to.
the issue, and let me explain what I mean. I don't actually love trying to prison out elves because you can't stop them from killing you with Crater Hoof anymore. Like the problem is if so imagine what happens in an average 7 turn game for both sides of the matchup. You'll have a tabernacle out and you'll be like killing one creature per turn. The problem is it's so easy for them to rebuild and kill you with a lethal hoof that I think it's just generally better sometimes to take a risk and try to kill them with the Merit Lage.
Yeah,
I think that's actually true pretty often. It actually was even true even the days you had Glacial Chasm. Actually, back in those days, what I tended to do was cast Gamble for crop rotation and just see if I was dead, and if I wasn't, then I could make Merit Lage. The old Gamble for or Vamp Tutor for Tinker, I guess, is how I would put it. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're dead this game, but
So I think what you're saying is you're going to actually be pretty applicable to the second game, and maybe we can talk through what the reasoning I had was. But
sure. Yep.
so, oh shoot, let me just start it over. We can see the
Yep.
hand. Yeah. So I pitched this one just thinking like you have really no action. I guess crop rotation gets you somewhere, but I mean, you do have like 10 cards in your deck that kill them with in combination with crop rotation, right? So maybe we just keep it and try to draw more cards and get there. But
I think you're supposed to keep because you're just like you're like 20% to like just lethal them almost instantaneously, but it is close. Definitely on the draw, I would keep this hand because then you
yeah,
just have two looks at the thing you want by whatever turn. But
yeah, that's I was kind of sad I was on the play with this hand. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
But I guess punishing fire is also a pretty good draw from this hand, and
yeah.
uh,
So it's four stage, three depths, three crop rotation. A P fire is okay. A Valkyd exploration is actually okay with this.
yeah,
Well, so I think it's actually large enough that I would probably keep, even though like obviously there's going to be that portion of games where you don't draw a gas spell and you lose, but whatever.
yeah. Even something like Saga would be fine to slow them down, and just put up blockers. But
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't check. Do you have Grafdigger's Cage in your sideboard?
no,
Okay, that would be a big improvement in the match, I think. Well, because basically all the games you lose to a deck are because of Natural Order or Green Sun Zenith.
yeah. I don't think it does enough against enough. And if you're
That's
trying to
fair.
get a Saga, it's like turn 4 before you really slowed anyone down. And I'm playing a
Well,
pro, so
it well the actual it's not actually like that because if you're on the play, you just play Saga on one and just give up a construct. If like I think people underrate that. If the silver bullet is that backbreaking, you should just play your Saga on one and sacrifice the construct. Or sacrifice
oh,
the
like
constructs. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yes. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm mulligan because of what I had just said. And this one, I also was thinking about. Obviously, no green, but if we get green, we can like go pretty hard, and we have a lot
Okay.
to slow them down.
I think you're actually supposed to keep this, and the reason is just any in green source is actually just lethal on turn three, I believe. Uh, the issue is you're going to have to play out both of your wastelands and depths before that, most likely, because you need another mana source to do the thing, so you don't actually get the tap into play early. But I think I would keep this hand, even though it looks sketch. I would just ship one of the crop rotations.
Yeah,
The other thing you could do is ship the exploration on the theory that okay, since I don't have green early, the exploration's even not even that good.
sure, that makes sense. So I thought about it, but then I was like, okay, no green, we're really gambling on it, and I shifted, and we ended up here. And this was like probably the worst, but I'm at 5 cards, so I have to keep it.
Yeah, the other thing is I actually hate sphere versus elves, although I think maybe nowadays it's different. I especially hate it when you don't have ancient tomb in your deck, to be quite fair.
Mhm.
Uh I've actually had this exact argument with a lot of people, and I just asked them, okay, what happens when your punching fire costs two red red instead of one red red?
Yeah,
I I'm pretty anti it. I think Uro also would not be in my deck ideally if possible because I think that's just right click view sideboard actually.
so I cut these, cut a loan, and I cut a Valakut exploration. And I just brought in, I think just that's the 4 spheres and Pyrite Spellbomb.
I would rather have Valakut exploration in my deck than Uro versus them, I think, on average. Because I think you actually need an engine in the games instead of a very slow, 6-6 that doesn't really matter to them.
Yeah.
And also I kinda think that you shouldn't side out the bog, maybe, but it just as an extra land. I kind of feel that way. Yeah, basically, I would just have zero Uros in my deck.
Yeah, okay. Maybe maze. I have two mazes. I'm down to one, but I didn't.
Um,
Maze is pretty medium, I thought. Like,
it's not that critical in the matchup, I think. Sometimes you'll randomly lose if they cut off all your engines, but I don't think Maze is really that credible in the matchup, so I'm fine cutting it.
I figure if we're thinking about if what would happen if you have chasm, I guess if you have chasm, you really can just not play spheres pretty safely because if they go crazy fast with like glimpses or whatever, you can just rotate for chasm and whatnot.
Well, the issue is if they have Assassin's Trophy in their deck, it doesn't really work. And I don't know. You would just have to look at how many elves lists have trophy versus not. Because if
Right.
they do have trophy post board, then that plan also becomes awkward because what can happen is they can just cast glimpse, draw most of their deck, and then just end up with, enough elves untapped with Birch War Rangers to attack you for lethal and trophy your chasm.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I haven't seen chasm out of elves for a while, but maybe
You
they're
mean
back on there.
trophy? I mean, I
Sorry,
think
trophy. Yeah.
I think about 50% of the lists have it if I had to guess, but they only have like one or two. So it's just a matter of what you want to accomplish.
Okay. All right. Well, uh, well, we can see what happens if you want to see. So I think I bought on that because I have no red. I just
Yeah,
wanted to say.
you probably have to cycle this pirate spell ASAP is what's actually going on here.
Yeah, I think this game. Let me see what happens.
If you draw, that's not a very good draw.
No, so I was like, okay, I'll get this sphere down at least. Not sure if that was ideal, but
It's a little bit awkward because I'm not sure you have many good draws here.
yeah,
It's also possible. I think you made a slight mistake. I think what you should actually do is sack your spell bomb first, see if you draw a different land. Because if you draw stage, or if you just draw
yeah,
some land that produces mana, you would rather discard that one than a depths, I think.
yeah.
So
That, I think that's true, but then you can't play sphere this turn.
yeah, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
sure casting a sphere is going to be that effective of a plan. But it
yeah.
it is definitely close. I'm just saying, I probably would have cycled the spell bomb first, looking for another card to discard rather than Dark Depths.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think basically what happened there is we got lucky on that.
Oh, well, that's very lucky because there's only three of that card in your deck, and there's only two left. So you hit your like 2 out of 54 dark.
Yeah, I think I kind of punt this game in a minute here because I'm going to rotate for a stage, and then I forget to sack the Pyrite Spellbomb to draw a card because I just need a land and then I merit it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So I think ideally you would rotate first, yeah, and you should sack the trop.
Yeah. So here's stage, and then I should sack Spellbomb with it
Yep.
there, but I
Yep.
think I was just clicking too fast. And then I don't draw land.
But
There's
then,
the
yep.
here's the land I would have drawn. and
That's very awkward. This slows you down so much that it's probably going to end up with you dying, if I had to
yeah,
guess.
that's basically it. So I play map, but then they let's see, speed it up again. Yeah, so glimpse is pretty bad. So I think they just basically have this big glimpse turn, and then the
Yeah.
next turn I end up thinking like either I make Merit Lage or I can like if I make Merit Lage, I die if they have Crater Hoof, right, or Natural Order.
Right.
Um, they I don't know if I did the math on them casting Crater Hoof, but if they have Cavern Cradle, they can do whatever, and they can definitely Natural Order, right? So I thought, okay, I'll get Tabernacle, and if I have Tabernacle, then they cannot Natural Order me. That was,
Um,
and
I'm
then I
not
can make
sh-
Merit Lage next turn.
not sure that's actually true. Let's see. They have one, two, three, four, five. Virtual is 6, 7. Korean is oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Korean 6. Virtual is 7. Other Virtual is 8. Other Querion's 9. So I think they can actually save all of their stuff, or save enough of their stuff that natural order would be lethal.
Yeah, maybe I should have
So
done
I
that.
think you should have just taken a risk. Like just count how much mana they have. They can basically what you can do is just use some of your elves to pay for the other ones and let other stuff die, and then the hoof is still lethal because hoof plus like three other creatures is basically lethal through anything, you know.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is they have Cradle, so I think they just like hard cast Hoof. Yeah, they get the Cradle off though. But yeah, so I mean, I just really lost because I didn't draw that card off that on that turn.
Yeah, that I mean that's critical, and also this is other reason I don't love the Tabernacle plan is that it it looks good on paper, and it would be good if you could, position yourself to get hard control of the game and have a way to make sure that you don't die to any BS. But I don't think it's that easy without Glacial Chasm in your deck. And also, you know, you need an engine card to do that, and you don't even have an engine card right now. So that's why I kind of hate doing it, and I generally just test them and see if they're dead to Dark Depths basically every game.
Yeah. They had yeah, I guess I mean sometimes you can't really play it safe, like even,
No,
even if like I buy a turn with Tabernacle, we're just gonna be back here next turn. Um
exactly. That's the situation I've had so often. And this is why I've been pretty critical of people who've when I watch replays, they just try to play it safe because they don't like looking dumb. But I'm like, you win more often, even though if you look dumb 30% of the time, you win 70% of the time. So it's kind of illogical. I think it's just I think people get scared of looking dumb I think more often than not, and I don't really operate that way because I don't really care about it.
I think for me it's like less about like looking dumb and just being like, wow, I have like literally nothing going on if Dark Deaths get answered. But I mean, I really don't have much else going on anyway. So
Yeah, but just imagine if this game goes on for a while. Do you think you're really winning with them two cards in hand? You know, a
I mean,
guy
if
is
they have
crit.
swords or whatever, we're just dead, right? So it doesn't matter if I do
I don't
die.
think you can ever beat Trophy with this hand, anyways. So it's like kind of irrelevant.
Well, I could have if I went last turn because I think they tapped their Bayou.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. But then they might have left up the black instead of playing the way they did. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
It's too complicated to analyze that.
yeah, now they have run afoul, which is like just one green, so it's like very hard to see and play around.
I don't play around that card. I just force them to have it because they only have like two copies. They would have to cantrip a bunch with Glimpse for me to even consider it. And like also like okay, if they have that, maybe they just have less engine cards in their deck, and maybe they just have a draw that doesn't do very much. Plus, you have Loam in your deck still, so it's kind of weird. Oh, that's the other thing. I don't really like cutting a Loam versus them because I think Wasteland Lock is one of the better ways to attack them.
Pretty real. So we live in like just cut 3 euros, maybe a
Yeah,
couple.
I'm
Maybe
very
less.
anti-Uro in this matchup because I think it does almost nothing.
Yeah, I guess in my head I was like, okay, well if I get Euro on the play, then they just cannot deal with it. But that's like
That's who
so
cares?
far
They don't
from
have to deal with it. They just kill you
yeah,
instead, right? Like their deck is capable of attacking for like 100 plus damage on one turn. Do you let them do that?
yeah. Yeah, I guess that idea works against things like Delver to some extent, but it's not very good against elves.
A long time ago, when Death Ray was legal, I literally played against a Chasm Lock, and my plan was to just glimpse through my entire deck and use Zeniths to shuffle my deck back in to prevent decking, just get enough instants and sources in my graveyard that my land's opponent would be dead. It completely worked. Like, that's the problem with the prison plan. Like, it just gives them so much time to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, yeah, prisons. That's been the flaw with prison as a general strategy.
That's why combo prison is so unique as an archetype. You don't see many decks that do that. I think the biggest analogy would be like Urza, Thopter, War, Sword, and Modern, but that deck is bad now for other reasons. We won't discuss that, obviously.
The other games I played, we could watch them, but
I
they're
mean,
kind of like blowouts.
well, we should because I think
Yeah,
there's actually small things that it's
yeah, okay,
you just. I mean, just maybe go to ones where you feel like there was maybe something you could have done differently, or I'll show you something. Because there's actually a lot of small things that people miss the first time that they play a game, and then you go back and watch, and you're like, okay, I could have done this slightly differently, and it would have increased by like 2% or whatever.
yeah. All right, well, I mean, I won this one, but this is against a version of the deck that's pretty popular right now, like Band. This is not exactly the normal band control lists, but anyway.
Well,
So I didn't know that going in for whatever that's worth.
yeah, I mean, you cannot mulligan the sand versus anyone, so it's it's whatever.
I figured, yeah, it's the Diamond Saga hands are usually like not
Mhm.
great always, but they're fine.
If they turn out to be Bant, then this hand's like actually very good because all you do is just put them under an unending stream of constructs and they lose.
And then that's a pretty hot draw, I felt. So
Yeah.
okay, so I played Diamond. I figure I just pitch Taiga, I think, but maybe you have a better idea.
Well, how many fetchables are in your? Well, I kind of think you should just pitch a fetch, right?
Yeah, I could see the argument for that.
Like the second fetch land doesn't do very much, like compared to the first one, and like maybe the life point matters down the line too.
Oh well, I guess I was smart too. So there you go. Here's a Saga. And so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to play Saga there, if I'm planning to Valakut Exploration next turn.
So I was thinking about that. Um, I think I probably wouldn't have played the saga that turn. I probably would have played the stage instead.
Okay.
The reason is next turn, what do you envision doing with the saga, or do you just want to not play Valakut Exploration on that turn? Or the other issue is I wanted to sub stage saga a long way down the road. If you play the saga here, you have to like sacrifice so many resources to do that early, right? Like you don't get any constructs, you don't have this. I mean, I kind of think playing the saga on that turn would be good if your plan was to just make two constructs over the next two turn cycles and tutor up like Pithing Needle.
Yeah, I think Saga, I'm still getting used to it. It's like you have to really like plan your turns because the thing is gonna, you have to only be able to do it the
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
So I think I would like this either playing stage. I don't the stage Saga thing, it just takes like a lot of resources to set up. So I don't usually like lean on that.
yeah. But
That's
it,
to do.
I think the opportunity cost of just waiting a few turns after you try to resolve your VE or whatever, I
Mm,
think it's the opportunity cost is actually very low because yes, it's nice to beat down with constructs, but it it'll be let's see, it'll be you make a construct, you make a construct, you do it'll just be two 4/4s. Like it's not really even that fast. And especially
okay.
versus Windswept Teeth, you know you're in for a long one, so you might want to squeeze all of the value you can out of all of your cards.
That's interesting. Windswept Heath to me said green white depths, where like having some creatures and stuff is like pretty good, but yeah,
Well,
I can see what you're saying. They're not exactly super fast, and we have a lot of answers to death stuff in our hands. So
I don't really see how you can assume the steps. If anything, I would assume more likely to be, you know, Bant or Maverick. From if you just look at the percentages of decks played, I think Depth's not that popular compared to like Bant or even something like Maverick. Personally,
does Band play a lot of Heaths? I didn't know that.
it can. I mean, like if you put Savannah in your deck, you can.
Okay. Yeah, so they play Savannah. So yeah, I agree. Should have probably played stage there or something. Probably not the fetch because you want to use that with Valakut.
But here's the last thing: what
Hmm,
kind of green white Depth's hand goes Heath go?
I mean, they just don't have Reclaimer.
But they kept on seven, right?
Yeah.
Just think about that. Like the London Mulligan incentivizes you to mulligan those hands that are glacially slow as that deck. So I kind of think it's really not likely to be White Green Depths or even Maverick by this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't usually think about like, okay, they didn't do anything. What does that mean? I usually just think they have a land and I just like base the decision on the land.
I think you have to think about those things because they tell
Uh,
you a lot of information. But like basically, I would just assume this is not White Green Depths or Maverick by this point, or
yeah,
they just really kept a really bad hand, which doesn't really tell you any information. Because if you go around assuming all of your opponents are bad, you actually are going to lose a lot.
that's good advice. So, all right. So yeah, usually in these spots, that's what I'm doing. I'm just like, oh, I guess I got lucky and they have a mediocre hand. But they did keep seven, so we should like assume their hand isn't trash. It's basically what you're getting at.
I would just assume that they're a solar deck, like by this point, and that's why I want to squeeze that value out of all of my cards.
Okay, that makes good sense. So I think what I do now, okay, that's a fine draw. Here's Saga. Yeah, and
All
so here
right,
we
so yeah, this is why I didn't want to play the saga on like this. you're basically spewing a lot. You're spewing a free card essentially.
Yeah, I gotta think more about maximizing sagas. I mean, the card is very powerful, but you do have to use it right. So they make a snake. That's fine. At this point, we know it's banned.
Yep.
So then, but they play Hierarch, so now it's
Oh,
like
so it's Bant Stoneblade most likely, if anything.
yeah, Blade. Sure. I don't think I saw Blades in the games, but it definitely sounds like it. Just some Green Sun pile maybe. But I didn't see that either.
Yeah, I mean these matchups to be pretty good. The only thing you have to worry about is getting your engines all answered. If you stick an engine card versus them, I think you generally win. So now the question is, what do you want to do here?
So I think I would like to make a robot, and then I'll find a thing. I think I'm gonna find map to go with stage, but I guess I have all these crop rotations. A diamond might be good, better.
So my instinct is I also would make a construct, but I'm not sure I would get map. I think I would get Mock Summon, probably discarding Ghost Quarter. Because I think what's going to happen is you're going to be really overloaded on mana sinks this game. That you don't really need to map for another threat, essentially. Because I think Valakut Exploration is just going to find you all of the threats you could ever want.
I think another thing we could do is rotate the saga while it's dying.
Yeah, I
But
looked at that. I think the problem with that is that's just a little bit too all in for not much gain. Like why do we need to rotate this turn?
yeah,
I mean,
and you
like
can't even make a construct if you do that. So
exactly. Yeah, I think that just gives up way too many cards for very little gain.
all right, so yeah, we'll make a construct. I mean, all of this is awkwardness caused by playing saga on that first
Yeah,
turn instead of like the second. But
yeah.
okay.
It's definitely important in these spots to be like, okay, I did make a mistake, but how do I get out of it? How do I recover? Yeah,
I think I found map. Really, my thinking was like, okay, we don't really need the mana here, and having more flexibility is better. But yeah,
yeah, but it's not just the mana this turn; it's just the mana on all of the other turns. Although the mocks hitting the mocks there makes your decision look very, very, very good. Not gonna lie, like that space. You should just main phase fetch because what if you hit exploration?
yeah, I think that was a mistake. I don't really know what I was thinking about on that, to be honest. Oh, I guess I did it
Okay,
secondly. I was like, oh, should be smart. Okay.
okay.
So now that we have map, my instinct is just like find another saga, keep doing it. But I don't know. The Ice Fangs make that like less awesome.
Yeah, the other issue is that I think the constructs are not that generally good versus Ice Fang Coatl anyways, so it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. I do think they're supposed to get Saga here though for the I don't think Dark Depths is gonna do anything,
No, but
obviously.
Dark Depths is better with surprise through crop rotation, I think.
Yeah.
If we can get them to tap out, but we'll see if that happens. Oh, I
Oh,
guess my thinking was because they have 3 creatures and 4 mana, so this could really like jam them up.
I don't really like this. I think what this is asking for is for you to die to Jace.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't think Saga beats Jace here though, right?
I
Because
think Saga plus Stage will beat Jace eventually. But
okay, yeah, that
I
wasn't on my radar.
I think what's going to happen is if you do this, or what should happen is they should just pay for their hierarch, let their coil side, and start plussing on you, or even just start brainstorming. Like I think what they should do is probably just let both the coils die and just try to get way ahead in resources and just overwhelm everything you can do.
Yeah. So I don't know that they can do that with Valakut. Yeah. Well,
I,
we'll see.
I think they can because you don't have an exploration yet.
That's true. So I'm gonna just Tabernacle go.
Hmm.
I'm not sure exactly. Okay, I think they did what you suggest. Okay, no, they kept 2. All right.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
that's
just
also fine. It depends on what like play they actually have in their hand. But
and this lets them keep getting 2 in a turn, so that's like okay, sure, but they don't attack.
is they're really respectful of double rotation merit age, so they don't have to counter one of the crop rotations.
Uh, yeah, I don't
Well,
know. I don't know if that's what they're respecting, but because they're gonna mess that up later. But yeah,
Armorglaive, huh? That one for a while.
right. I was like, okay, that's surprising. Okay, so then we drop Uro, which I think we just play
Yeah, you just play it.
because we can also escape it next turn if we want. Put our stage in. Loam is a pretty good draw. But we really want exploration, which we then find. We have to play exploration this turn because otherwise it'll go away, right?
No, well, so you actually messed up slightly.
Oh
Think
yeah.
about okay, you didn't actually play a land, so you
Oh
just
yeah, because stage wasn't a land drop.
as
Yeah.
I'd say, like Uro just puts the land into play directly. I actually also was thinking about the fact that maybe you should have just played your stage first and played the Uro off the colorless land as well, leaving yourself up green. But
Yeah, I still had green up because of diamond, but I could have slept up 2 green. Yeah,
yeah, but double green's important because you have two crop rotations. So
true. That's true. Okay, so I could have loaned for like fetch land saga, whatever, and then like played a green
yeah,
source and then played the exploration, then played another. Yeah, that would have been much better. That would have like,
yeah.
yeah. All right, well, that's good to remember. Like just spewed a whole land drop. Okay, so here I think they pay for all 3. So they keep back the snake because exalted, I guess, is just as good as a snake and just
Yeah.
as safer.
Mm.
Okay, we draw another exploration.
Oh, this is really good for you now, obviously. Now I think they're just like kind of dead if they don't have any counters.
Yeah. So I think I'm loaming Saga, Grove, Depths, I think. Or I probably want to fetch land. So Saga, fetch land, Grove. I'm
You
not
could
sure.
also get the Ghost Quarter. I think probably the Dark Depths is not going to be anywhere good enough, so you probably shouldn't even get it back.
Yeah, at this point, thinking like field is how I want to win this game. So I want to get
Yeah,
Saga for map for field, but map's already used, actually. Never mind. So it'll have to be crop rot for Saga at some point. Okay, so I got fetch land, Saga, and Depths.
it's fine. The reason I was considering Ghost Quarter is I think there's a lot of situations where you're like they fetch three basics. How many do you think they have? Ghost Quarter is probably close to strip mine, and I could definitely foresee a situation where you need to wrath them with the Tabernacle as well.
Yeah, because we are a little low on life and we don't have a lot to stop ourselves from taking hits here.
Well, you do actually, right? You could
Let's go.
always just escape Uro. Like this is probably a matchup where you want to escape Uro.
So we just like draw the nuts and kind of go crazy here.
So I guess they don't have a counterspell, is what's going on here.
Yeah, if we got kind of lucky on that. Um,
You could have also, well, not that you necessarily want to do this by this point, but you could have played the Plunging Fire on the Hierarch. But I think
yeah,
it's probably better to just like make Merit Wage and force them to plow because it's 20 life.
yeah, I think that's kind of where I was at with it.
Hmm.
Because I can even punishing fire the snake next turn and kill it with Lage. You know, it's not like that'll defend them.
Right.
But I think what I did is I was just in on field and didn't want to take that risk.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what you should have actually done is count your land types before anything. So you'll be down depths and stage. So we have Saga, Saga, Tabernacle, Prop, Taiga, Forest. That's one, two, three, four, five.
Wait, you have me making merit Lage right now? I was
I was just considering what happens if you do.
oh okay.
Um, I guess if you really think you're gonna win with field, you can just rotate for Mazavith.
I rotated, I think, for field and just chunked this Tarmogoyf.
Oh, that's also reasonable. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I spew the tabernacle because it's not really doing anything anymore. it ever did.
I don't think it actually ever did anything this game, to be
Yeah.
quite fair. Like that's I think people overvalue that card a lot.
Well, the markets overvalue it. So yeah,
That's a different issue, obviously.
yeah. So here's my 2/2 blocker. Okay, great. I mean, I don't think once you have field and 3 explorations, it's and loams, it's like just hard to lose. But
I call this garbage time. It
yeah,
doesn't really. You just click buttons and they're basically dead. It doesn't really matter what you
I
do.
think, yeah.
All
Okay, so
right.
this game's over. Let's just go to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one of the takeaways is tab is not as good as I think, and then we got to make sure to optimize Saga by planning a little bit.
Yeah. Wait. You should look at how you sideboarded real quick. That's good. Okay. I do agree with siding out. I do not agree with siding out Loam or Mox Diamond. I think it's okay to cut the other cards. I'm kind of curious why Endurance is even in our deck.
I brought in, yeah, I figured they had Uros, but they didn't show many.
I mean, do you care? Like, I don't. I'm not like not to sound facetious. Do you really care if they Uro you? I don't think it's really that debilitating, honestly.
I mean, if Uro is on the table and he attacks a few times, it's pretty lame, you know?
I mean, you still have Caracas. I mean, the,
Yeah,
the
we
the
have
real
Rockets
issue
as well.
is I consider Moxheim to be part of the colored mana base. Now it's really more difficult to cast your spells.
That's true.
I'm,
And I
I'm
think Loam as an engine is pretty valuable. I could have left out the endurances and kept in Diamond Loam.
yeah, I
You're okay
think
with cutting depths?
I'm okay shaving two in this matchup. I think once you have the field and the sagas in a matchup like this, you don't really need to do it, but it's nice to have exactly one to, perform
That's
the oh
good.
shit operation just in case.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I, I'm basically sympathetic to siding out depths when it's bad, but I like starting four in my game one, so I have the option to just like be like, okay, you're dead. You know?
and I cut out crop rotations. That's the standard. Like if it's
Mhm.
countered, that sucks kind of thinking. This hand, I'm pretty sure I mulliganed just because it's got like not very much going on.
Um, yeah, I agree with that. You can't really do anything productive with that hand. Oh,
This
this
one's kind of great if you draw a land. That's kind of where I was at.
you don't even really have to draw a
Yeah,
land, I think. I mean,
yeah,
the fear is surgical extraction, of course, but whatever. I'm willing to take my L stat card.
yeah. Exactly. You can't just live in fear. So I bottomed the loam, and I think,
I kind of think I would just bottom the Uro to play around Force of Negation.
yeah. Another thought could be to bottom tabernacle and have.
Oh, actually, you should just probably bottom tab with this hand. Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, it's redundant pieces, so maybe it was just too quick thinking on my mind. But hierarch decks, I don't know. I like tabernacle, but it was obviously I might have to rethink that.
Okay, this is questionable by your opponent. What the hell is going on? I think if they're a combo deck, this is reasonable. But the cards they've shown us, I would never do that in their spot, most likely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they don't even know what they need. Like they should at least wait for you to cast something, right?
I mean, when people do that, I assume they need lands, but that's still not the best way to get your lands. So
Well, why don't you just wait until turn two to cast it?
exactly. So I don't know.
Like, also, what if you want to force his exploration and that's your only blue card? Like, I don't really understand that. That is maniacal to me.
So I played Caracas. Okay, they have some stuff. Let's see what they do. Okay, Sylvan Library. It's like good, but I think we can beat it. Is where I'm at.
I think Sylvan's incredibly overrated unless if you have a bunch of arrows in your deck, personally. Like, I kind of hated it in red green unless we play exactly one. I mean, the problem with Sylvan Library is A, it doesn't stack up well in multiples, and B, it actually increases your exposure to Force of Vigor by quite a bit.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Well, okay, so I don't know what you want to do here. What I'm thinking of is play these two lands, then Uro and Caracas it back.
Is that better than just fetching, whelming back both your fetches, and playing a land?
I mean, it gets us one card deeper in the deck, but then Loam's not in the graveyard, so yeah.
I think I would just loam basically every turn until I find Field or Saga with this hand.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. But I got cute with Arrow, so
I mean, this is fine as well. Like, it's reasonable. You One thing you definitely should have done is you should have. Well, you could have just left your greens. Oh no, I see. You wanted to leave up Caracas. Okay, I guess there was no other way to play it. If you want to do that.
yeah, because we're not even close to escaping, right? So I want to just like start doing this every turn, but I think that's kind of a trap. Loaming every turn is probably just better.
I think loaming sees you a lot more cards and is likely to draw you much more impactful cards than random. Like, just imagine the random card from your deck. It's honestly not very good. Like, random cards from your deck are not that good, which is kind of the problem with doing this. Whereas, like, if you play a deck like Band Control, your average card quality is really high because you have, like, Brainstorm, Swords of Plowshares, like, threats.
Yeah. Plus, we also have exploration, so the ramp isn't important. Like we already have that. So okay.
It could be important at some point, but here I don't think it's particularly important.
Yeah.
And plus, like, if you dredge loam a bunch, you can just escape Uro easily that way, so I think you just... Ooh. Huh.
So now we're like pretty punished for doing that because otherwise you'd have only had 2 lands.
Yeah.
So
So,
anyway,
so now you obviously can't dredge. Forest is a very good draw.
pretty happy about that. Yeah, I'm just keeping Tabernacle because they have no creatures, and so we definitely should have bottomed it. Okay, here's stage. So my plan now is find a land, copy my forest, or maybe their island.
You're probably supposed to copy their island, given your hand.
I think that's what I do. Then I play Tabernacle for whatever it's worth. But back to basics is sort of hosing them too. It's not like great for them this game, I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't know. People love to do this stuff.
Yeah.
It's honestly like it's obviously annoying, but it's not really the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. I also think you sort of got punished. If you had loamed that one turn, I would have thought about getting Boris because you know these decks sometimes play this sort of stuff post board.
Well, yeah, and if we had loam, then we probably would have had an uncracked fetch anyway, so we
Yeah,
could find.
exactly. So I think it would have worked out a lot better for you if you had loamed that turns of Uro Karakist.
Yeah. So here, one thing we could do is rotate for another land so that we can do the stage thing, like right now, or we can just save rotation for field later. I think field now actually makes a zombie.
It does.
Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what I do.
It's very appealing to just rotate away one of your dual lands for a few of the dead, honestly.
I think I just like sat on it, or let's see what I did actually.
Sometimes the replay feature gets buggy.
Yeah. Okay, so I just held it. I don't know what my thinking was.
Well,
They have no white source, I guess, as part of it. And if they tap this Tundra, they can be locked out and I can lage them. I don't know.
no, they have no Hierarch, right?
Yeah, but they keep doing this thing. They should tap their basics before they tap Hierarch. But
I think so as well. This is another good example of how I think Tabernacle doesn't really do anything.
I thought here it would look pretty good because they only
It's
have three
exactly
red.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's if Back to Basics weren't on the field, it would really not look very good, I think.
Yes, that's absolutely true. But if Back to Basics wasn't in play, we just win. But yeah,
Yeah, I
we
guess
could have done
there's.
other Tabernacle.
I mean, I would leave it in. I just would have bottomed it. I would have considered bottoming it in that hand. Hmm.
I think I just don't hit anything. Is what actually happens, and because if I find anything to cast this with, and that just gets tapped. I didn't feel like I was under any pressure because they have like a 2/2, you know. But at this one,
I think it's less about that. I think I would have fired the crop rotation almost immediately, and I probably would have gotten like what would I have gotten? Probably field is tapped, I guess.
yeah,
The problem is I'm not sure you're actually in that good of a position because the Sylvan is taking them towards something that's potentially threatening. Or whether it be something like I think a Jace would be almost unbeatable on this board state.
yeah,
So I kind of think you were actually under more pressure than you realized, and they just happened to not draw what they need.
Yeah, I think they didn't draw very much.
So I think you were supposed to actually take action almost immediately.
Yeah, I think in retrospect that's probably accurate. I think I was trying to like do something cute and they like use library and go to 2 and I get them, but that's obviously just like playing that your opponent is bad, so you should probably not do that.
Well, also, what do you think is in their hand? My bet is just a bunch of force of wills or whatever. But I mean, the thing about crop rotation is if you fired it immediately, they would have had less looks at forces.
Yeah, I feel like my opponent just like saw no counter magic or something because
Well, they definitely have it in their deck. Like I,
they have to have it, but I
yeah,
guess they just like I don't feel like I countered any spells.
Hmm.
So I think I copy now the island.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fine. And then you probably rotate for field the next turn cycle.
I don't know if I do that, but let's see. That sounds right. There's a lot of this kind of draw go stuff in this game. Okay, so then I loaned them. I think they have force of negation. Yeah.
So remember when I wanted to keep the second?
Yeah, right.
I, I, I really do think it's just so likely that that deck has more force of negations than other decks. Actually,
Yeah, and compared to Delver, Delver is like 0 to 1, but this deck's usually at least 2. So just drew a card, I think, because that was not really mana anyway.
I mean, I if they ever find Jace, I think you're probably gonna die. But whatever. I guess they just didn't find a Jace this entire game, right?
Yeah, they probably have 2, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
would guess two. Two's basically the maximum, especially if you have other expensive cards in your deck.
so we found another loam. They force of will it this time,
Oh,
which
yeah, that's a much better spot for you. So yeah, I don't
no,
know. This game was kind of just a demonstration of how their deck is like probably not very good if both of you get to do their thing, your your thing, and that's basically what happened, right?
yeah, this was a punt. There's no more fetchables, I think.
You also, I think, should have probably played the Grove first to play around Surgical on your loam, even though it's kind of unlikely.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually I should have probably played loam and a land so I could
Well,
do
it,
well.
it's actually hard for them to have Surgical because they would have just Surgical with the loam until it got to your turn, right?
Yeah, that's true. So at this point, we
Yeah.
kind of put them off it. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. If the game continues like this for another turn or two, they're just dead. So it's like whatever.
yeah. At this point, I think they just die. I mean, so yeah, find field, great.
I mean,
Probably should have sacked Tabernacle.
they're actually at 3 life, and the Power Blast is nice, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have creatures, right? So we just pay for our guy and hit them, and they go to 1, and we can kill them with punishing fire.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I guess that's our time. I don't want to make you watch another replay, but yeah.
Yeah. This is why I kind of think 2 hour sessions tend to be better because 1 hour goes a lot faster than people realize.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you have time still right now or not. I do have like 30 more minutes if you do want to talk a little bit more about strategic things, but it's up to you.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? I
Okay.
have
Yeah.
another.
This
I mean, I have all
I
day, so
basically this is. I think it's really easy to just burn through an hour without realizing it.
yeah. And so, okay, yeah. So, all right. So we looked at like a Bant deck, um, elves. Here's a match against D&T. I also won this one. I don't remember if it was very interesting, but it's like a matchup that comes up a lot. So,
First D&T.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that matchup has gotten really weird over the years.
yeah. Like it
Uh,
keeps getting pivotal cards that change everything.
I kind of think if your D&T opponent is competent, it's a lot more difficult than it has been in the past.
Well, I think this is a keep. I don't know if you have any.
Well, first off, I don't know what deck list you're on right now.
This is this. It's like the same list.
Okay, I
23 of the
see.
75. Yeah.
All right, so this hand's very clearly a keep, and the question is, how do you play it?
So it's kind of hard, right? Because if you just play Saga turn one, you really want to draw that land. But
Yeah, but on the other hand, like I kind of think you have to because the problem is if you don't do that, it's really hard to get the map plus like fetch another land out thing going.
yeah, so I
So
think what Grove for exploration, Saga for map, and then
yeah,
just Gray, right?
yeah,
If you don't get a land, you can just map for another land and then play Valakut exploration or something.
yep.
Okay, so I pressed keep there. Okay, here we go, keep. Okay, so that's what I did, and I played the map. Okay, great. They just waste the Saga. Everyone wastes Saga.
So no, if I were them, I would waste your growth so fast. It would not even be close. And I think people just don't realize this. The number of colored sources in your deck is not that high, and like the saga is going to kill itself in 2 turns anyways.
Yeah,
So like I would have just killed the grove ASAP, and you probably would have lost on the spot if their follow up is any good.
yeah. I mean, I think one of the things Saga does for us is it's just a huge wasteland magnet because people are very scared of it. So I've
Right.
had like Delver players spew with their wastelands on sagas, and then you just merit lage them, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I
Yeah,
think I just
and
kept this exploration. That's like a bad habit of mine, and
no,
something.
you shouldn't play it here actually.
You think so?
Yeah, what I want to do is just rotate this away from mana source. Honestly,
Yeah, rotate the chat. Yeah, I think that's what I do.
I think you should actually rotate for saga, and let me explain why. Because
Good.
what you actually want to do is pit the needle with that Aether Vial.
Ooh, that would have been smart. Let me see if I did that. No, I just got a fetch.
I think this is also reasonable.
Hmm. I, I, sometimes your head gets tangled. I'm like, okay, fetch is good with Valakut exploration, but like I can't
But
actually play it unless I sack it. So like, what's the
I,
point?
yeah, I was about to say the problem with that is you're not going to have that fish in play by the time Valakut Expiration gets cast.
Exactly. So I think I like Saga there too. I don't really need a. I mean, this is one of the things maybe with the 3 color thing where like, okay, we got to get blue as well, so we need a fetch. But anyway,
Okay, now drawing a land was insanely good because now you obviously jam your thing. This is, I agree with you. This card is one of the easiest ways to win versus their deck because I don't think their deck is well positioned to kill in game one minus Skyclave Apparition, which is so far from happening for you.
yeah, right now, like I guess they could go land apparition next turn, but I think, yeah, this wasteland taking them off that is pretty big. So,
Yep, definitely. Ooh, Yavimaya is also a big pickup.
so we can just play a bunch of lands and go ham, and then this game's pretty much over. So we can just check the next one.
Yeah, I don't. Generally, their deck does not win from this position because what happens is you just out engine them by so much that it doesn't really matter what happens.
Yeah, I mean, even if they have uh, the Sanctum guy, by the time this file gets to 3, I've just drawn like 15 cards or whatever.
Well, that's another reason I'm pro Pirate Spellbomb in the main. But I mean, it also doesn't matter because I think you can just straight up beat a Sanctum Prelate with Valakut Exploration and Ursa Saga in your deck.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking of the apparition, but yeah, you can beat the
Yeah.
pirate on. I do think that the first best spell bomb is better than the third P fire, so I'm gonna make that change. But, yeah. Well, now we know it's against D&T. I guess we should check the sideboarding. Oh, yeah, this is like the stupid league where I had 9 cards in my sideboard. So
What? How did you manage that?
I don't know. I was
Uh,
putting this deck together, and I was like, oh, endurance and sphere and some random 1-drop artifacts, and then I forgot to do the rest.
oh.
So
Definitely agree with shaving Dark Depths, and I agree with shaving Ghost Quarter because it's really hard to Ghost Quarter them out. I have done it, not because I wanted to, but because my deck didn't really give me anything else to do with Crucible of Worlds.
well, with Crucible, it's a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are times I've played one Crucible on my sideboard. I actually think it's kind of good with Ursa Saga because it's just another artifact, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's kind of just whatever. It's not like game defining. You can play it or not. It's take it or leave it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I kept one depth, so for the gotchas, I think I brought
Yeah.
it in an endurance because I don't know why not. I guess it
I
blocks
don't
them.
think Endurance does anything versus their deck, so I would
Yeah,
also just not have it in my deck.
I agree with that.
All
All
right.
right, here's box time. So this is I
This is
think
a
I just
trickier hand, but my instinct is to probably just play Mox, pitch, waste, and play Saga.
yeah can like Mother of Runes kind of lines up badly against sagas, which is nice.
I said there. I guess. Well, I don't know. It's just a 2-mana 3/1, I guess. But
Yeah, they
whatever.
didn't even see Uro, so they don't know that it actually even does anything. So I guess they could bet we're on Sylvan Library. So we have to give up a construct if we play Tabernacle.
Yeah, I would not do that. I would just play to make construct and make a construct, and then just like try to get ahead that way.
Okay. I think I went for it just because then I was like,
Yeah, I
can't
hate
do
this so
anything.
much because suppose they have a wasteland. This like isn't doesn't even work out that well for you, right?
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I guess getting these awkward spots where it's like Tabernacle would just buy a turn if they have Wasteland, right? And then what I give up for the turn, I gave up my construct.
Yeah, like you're giving up 3 cards, and the matchup really is about attrition. I think most of the time.
Hmm. In fact, we gave up both constructs, so that's pretty bad.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I think that was probably a misplay. We could have waited a turn, right? That wouldn't have been the end of the world.
I mean, now what you should do is float and crop rotate with the trigger on the stack. Yeah, I also
Uh,
hate not crop rotating there as well, to be fair.
yeah, I think that's. I guess I didn't have a target in mind, so I just didn't do it. But I think you're probably right. I'm not sure. I think I got the spell bomb.
You have to get Spellbomb here. It's either Spellbomb or Retrofit or Foundry, but I think it should be Spellbomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think getting anything else makes sense.
I don't know why I wasted them.
No, wasting them does make sense because it forces them to start tapping their land, and they also didn't waste you last turn.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that means like we're saying you're never going to play another spell because we have Tabernacle. We're kind of like we
Hmm.
made him maybe we messed up playing Tabernacle, but we can lean into it now.
Yeah, exactly. You're just priced into it now, and also like they're gonna have to pay a lot of mana to just deal you basically 3 damage a turn. Because all of my opponents, they never attack with their Mother Runes. What the hell is this?
I guess they wanted to play another spell.
Okay, so here this actually sort of makes sense if you think you have like some 3 mana haymaker that you really want to cast, because the pirate spellbomb is going to kill the Mother Runes anyways. But now you just don't even have to sacrifice the pirate spellbomb. So like this is also
Yeah,
kind of weird.
right. So I was thinking, okay, this could be Stoneforge Mystic for Cauldra, which is like very good against us, but I'm just gonna kill Stoneforge Mystic, so I don't really see like why
No,
this.
like I said, I think it's matchup about attrition, and basically they just gave you 2 free cards for no reason.
I don't really. Well, I don't remember what they play here.
I don't think
And
this is worth giving up with your creatures for, honestly.
I think this is like kind of cute. I'm not sure if I shot it here.
You
I think
shouldn't. I think you definitely should not.
you think I should just leave him a 2/2.
Yeah,
I mean,
who
I can shoot it
cares?
later,
Yeah, exactly. You
and
still
then
have the
I'll get.
optional. Yeah. Well, no, you won't get anything because there will be
But
0 drop 100. Yeah,
okay, so
I do not like this because the Pirate's Poem is very valuable at answering Sanctum Prelate or even Stoneforge or like
or
that's
mom.
just that's just a 3 mana 2/2 that killed one of your lands. Like who cares?
Yeah, that's a good point. Plus, I mean, with Tabernacle, they have to pay for it, so it would
Mm.
further. Yeah, I think that was the mistake. So. Okay, now we just kind of go slow for a while.
Are there 2 Ghost Quarters in your deck?
This
In
build
this
has two. Yeah,
Okay, because I remember you cited out one. All
yeah.
right.
This they're one of the 75 is different. Like I swapped a Ghost Quarter for Punishing Fire or
Okay.
something, and I put Needle in the main instead of Retrofit or Foundry. So they're gonna Flicker Chain. At this point, things don't look particularly good, so I don't know how I won this. Let's see what happens. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
well,
that solves all the
that's a
problem.
good start, and I think probably what you're supposed to do is just play that off forest and probably leave up crop rotation off grove.
I don't know why I got Taiga. That seems kind of dumb.
That's unreasonable. That's not unreasonable if you're also going to play grove this turn. If you're not going to play grove this turn, then it is kind of unreasonable.
Well, I'm definitely not playing double Saga, right?
Right.
Okay. So then they do the flicker thing.
Why
Cool.
didn't they hit you for one first? That's the real question.
It doesn't like to deal damage, okay?
Every damage is 5%. What's there to winning?
Dang, all right. Do the math on that one. Okay, so they got Stoneforge this time.
Yeah, they're trying to get culture complete to kill you, obviously, which makes a lot of sense.
Um, so my thinking is wasting them will take them off keeping their guys in Stoneforge at least.
Hmm.
Well,
I
they
think that's.
have land.
I also think that's good because I think the port's likely to be annoying. Well,
Yeah, pretty sure waste the port, or you can try to take the chance to port waste the clearing.
I don't think that matters. I don't think they're ever cycling in this game.
Yeah, not with tab out, right? So um, I guess I did that anyway, but
Yeah, I really do not like that because they can just tap the port for a minute as well and not deal themselves damage.
yeah, they have all the white they need, so it's not like I'm cutting them
Mhm.
off.
Right.
Yeah, that was probably a mistake. Um, so then I guess this is them keeping Flicker Wisp and playing Stoneforge Mystic.
Right.
But I can just needle the Mystic with Sagas, which is I'm pretty sure what happens.
Versus Saga is a really messed up magic card. I mean,
It's there's some people who are not playing it in lands. I'm not sure I agree with that, but
I think I'm sympathetic to the idea that you don't need to play for. I think I probably went overboard, but I think you some number is good just because the angle of attack it gives you is really, really, really powerful.
I
Because
mean I'm on 3.
I
Some
mean,
people bring 1.
the people who just try to counterlock you with like force negations and stuff, it doesn't really work very well for them. This is not the right time to do that either.
Yeah, so I think I just rotate it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a free card, right? Like I
Yeah,
said, look for those free cards.
yeah, I gotta okay. And then what do we get? I think stage is not unreasonable.
I would get stage, I think.
Not sure. I think I'm pretty sure that's what I got. And what else I would get? There it is.
Yep.
So now we can make the robot or we can copy it. I think I make the construct.
You're supposed to make the construct because you have the exact same decision next turn, except you get an extra draw step, right?
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
construct is like you can attack if you want for whatever reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so there it is. What do we draw? That's pretty great.
Okay, so that means now you shouldn't copy, I think, most likely.
Yeah, I think now we might just even float the mana.
Yeah, you definitely. I think you should just float the mana, most likely. Now, I mean, you are giving up a free card, but kind of think the Valakut Exploration is going to be all of the free cards you could ever need.
So you could, I think this is what I'm doing. I'm making a construct, then I'm going to play Valakut off this saga and not get the card this turn off it.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see both ways. If you float, then you. So with Valakut, I always want to make sure I have green up so I can like exile Exploration and play it. Um,
It's not going to matter this turn if you play it, right?
right, but it would go to my graveyard. I already have an Exploration actually, so it doesn't
Yeah.
make a big difference. Okay, so then I think that's what we did. Great. So we needle the Stoneforge. And I don't know, I think I just attack.
Yep.
Yeah, that's whenever they do that, I'm like, cool. Like, that's fine.
Oh, wait, this is what I was talking about. Like, I don't think spot removal is that good versus the deck unless if you make it good. And cards like Tireless Tracker and Reclaimer make spot removal good versus the deck.
Yeah, but it's not good against Saga, even though Saga turns
No,
it.
no,
That.
because it's the same problem as Modern. Like, they're going to run out of removal spells if they're just trading their constructs one for one. Like, it's just so easy to run out of removal spells, right?
Right. I spent 2 mana. They spent 1 mana on a card. So
Yep. Well, I mean, you effectively spent three, right? Because the saga is a mana source, but that is a favorable exchange for you.
okay, so then Foundry, like that's pretty good. I think I'm just making a machine here. Can't tell. Well, what should we do? I guess we should think about it.
I think what you're probably supposed to do is you should figure out if you're winning this race, first off, even if they have a plow. If they have a plow, I think you are. Let's see, you would go to 14 if you attacked. They're obviously not going to block because you can make a construct. So they'd be at 12. If they plowed you, you would go to 14. They would attack for 7. So you're not supposed to attack them, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I also, well, Foundry can, it takes a while, but it can make a blocker for Flicker Wisp, and then the constructs will block the ground and Valakut will take over.
Yeah, but I think what you're supposed to do is just play the Foundry and just say go.
Foundry go
Yeah.
with the idea of just like making a construct through Saga.
Yep.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, I ghost corded myself. I think I wanted to trigger Valakut Exploration.
I hate this so much, actually.
Yeah.
I think this is the.
But, yeah.
There's a term that people use. This is fancy play syndrome. I don't think this is like even remotely good because here's the thing. I think all of your mana sources matter so much, and the thing you want to hit off allocate exploration is just mana sources. So you're sacrificing a mana force to go find a different mana source? Question mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is not. This is just much worse than just playing Foundry and saying go.
We did also give up red, so we can't draw Punishing Fire now.
Yep, there were a lot of reasons to just literally not do this, I think.
Then we did this. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now, to be honest. Fetch land. I think we're just like leaning hard on Valakut Exploration.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if you just ever draw a land, this just could have happened for free instead of giving up. You know, you're basically gambling there, and I think you basically drew as well as possible off of that chain of events, but kind of think it should have ended poorly for you on average.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, just imagine you hit a Mox Diamond, or imagine you hit any card that's not a land there off that trigger. It looks much worse for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, well, that's where we ended up. And here's Skyclave Apparition. Okay. Not great, I guess.
Fortunately, it says non-token on it. Otherwise, you would have been in a world of trouble, I think.
Yeah, we're taking a lot of damage. They can't really attack with anything because we'll just eat it, which I guess at some point that's fine for them. Maybe actually next turn that's fine for them. But we have Exploration plus Loam, so that's good. I think at this point I'm gonna, now that we're here, I'll probably loan back Wasteland, Tabernacle, and something, and just go for Wasteland plus Tab and put them to 2 creatures.
I agree with that. Eventually, you'll have to defeat the Flicker Wisp, but I think it's doable for sure.
Given enough mana, I can do that with Foundry. Which I think it might have been, oh wait, okay, so I did it like this. Okay, so because if I'm planning to play Tabernacle, I don't want to make another construct, but there's no artifact to find. Oh, I have 3 mana, that's sad.
So now you're basically on 3 turns to get out of this thing killing you.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're pretty likely to do it, right? Because Foundry will just get there if we need it to.
Oh, actually, also, I think you probably win the race.
Yeah, I think at this point I should.
Oh, no. Yeah, you actually win the race, I think, just straight up. Because your construct will be a 4/4. So you take 3, you go to 4, you attack for 7, they go to 6. If they don't have anything, then they just straight up die.
We can attack for 8 with the servo.
Yeah.
Depending if we want to sack it or not.
Right.
But we have Tabernacle, which also like makes things a little awkward, right? I think I didn't do the math and I sacked this illusion for whatever reason.
They're plowing now, that's just straight up a mistake as well. You should just wait until the Tabernacle triggers resolve and then cast Plow.
Yeah, because I would probably sack the construct or sack the servo with the fitter with the tabernacle on the stack, and then they can just plow the thopter.
Right.
So here, I probably shouldn't have sacked that thing. But
I don't think you should have because I think it works out to 2 turns of lethal where you survive.
yeah, I gotta actually do math sometimes, and I just don't. So because I was like, okay, I want the mana for retrofitter foundry, so I just won't. But then I don't know if I had done the math, I probably would have been fine.
This is also a situation where Shadow Spear would have been pretty good again.
Actually, yeah,
I
Savage is pretty good in this matchup in general.
I I've just played so much modern with and against those types of decks that I know that Shadow Spear would is just a natural fit for constructs. Like it just works out well, you know?
Yeah, maybe I'll get some. It just seems like really bad to naturally draw without.
I don't
Without.
think it's really that bad, honestly. I mean, your deck doesn't have a lot of creatures, but it has 3 sagas and a bunch of depths. It's also like okay with zombie tokens, like
Yeah,
weirdly enough. I mean, obviously that's like kind of win more, but it's not irrelevant.
the life game matters. I feel like I drew a card for some reason. Well, why not? I guess. And I think this
Oh,
game,
I
Uro
see.
basically bailed me out.
Yeah. I think you should have had lethal without it, so you should have won, but now obviously you get to win really hard instead.
Well, the harder you win, it counts for more, obviously. Yeah, because then this is why I've kind of come back to your Uro because Yavi Maya makes him easier to cast by a lot. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but the thing is, like, it was actually completely unnecessary this game to have
Yeah,
access to that card, so
cool. So we're out of Flicker Wisp range, even if they have an answer for Thopter,
mhm.
and then we just win. So it's pretty much over from here. But
Yeah,
okay.
so I think this game was a good example of how, like, you should have just won if you had done the combat damage math, like, pretty easily, I think, because, and your opponent also cast Plow at the wrong time, and if they had just plowed the bigger creature, I think they'd buy a lot more turns, but they thought they were going to kill you with the Flicker was based on how you played. So
Yeah.
it's all of that combined. Except they plowed the servo before they knew you were going to sack the illusion. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess they were just really.
Well, no. Actually, if they wait until you, if they wait until your upkeep, then you can just sack the servo to Foundry. I guess why they did that, but I kind of think you had them checkmated without the Uro, and then you had to get lucky to be able to cast the Uro to win, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I guess we have like 5 minutes. Maybe try to get some
Hmm.
main points. So first off, do the friggin' math. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just like you have creatures in your deck, just look for the situations where they're dead in 2 or 3 and how it has to play out, especially with your Tabernacle, because I do think it can get kind of complicated. Because like it reduces the game to okay, both of us are constrained on what creatures we can have. Who is actually winning this race and by how much?
Yeah, I think I also just let the clock really get to me because I mean, obviously, I still have 4 minutes, so that's plenty of time
Mhm.
to stop and think. But in my head, 4 minutes is it's in the red. I'm gonna die. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. So if you want to talk about Shadow Spear, the deck list, or like
well, yeah, okay, let's do it real quick.
even whatever matchups you think you found tricky or you don't know how to approach, we can do all of that. Maybe real quick.
Well, I guess what would be your general approach to the Bant matchup? Because that's one like I feel like I know how to do Delver and Death and Taxes, Elves, whatever. Like they're rarer and I do okay against them already. But the Bant deck, like I do fine against it, but I'd like to know what you think is important and worth working for.
So I think it's favorable, and I think what's supposed to happen in all of the games you win is that you either get Feudal of the Dead or Saga plus or a stage plus Saga and just grind them to nothing. Because I kind of think their deck can't beat you unless they hardcast Shark Typhoon. So your goal is to also stop them from hardcasting Shark Typhoon or getting adjacent play.
But there are like sub games like Uro where you need to keep them off the mana or have a Karaka. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's that too. And the other issue is that they play a bunch of they play endurance in their main deck, so it can be tricky. So I don't know, kind of you just have to be prepared to play a very long game where you can establish an engine or recurring creature threat, basically. Um,
this the engines are fragile against them because prismatic ending and
mhm.
endurance are both like I don't know 3 or 4 ofs, right? And so they can answer a Valakut or Life in the Loam pretty easily. So leaning on the creature generating engines maybe makes more sense.
Yeah, I think you basically just have to do that. The problem is obviously in game one you don't know their bant, so you might keep a hand that doesn't look great, and you get crushed that way. But I do think Field and Saga are your most important cards in the matchup. And if you do want to play Field in your deck for that matchup, I would respect that. I don't love Field as much as other people do, obviously, but you know,
Yeah. Were you down on it before Saga?
I've never really liked that card because it's really clunky. I especially don't like playing two copies of that card. I
Yeah,
think that's
two.
complete nonsense because the when you get the first field active, you're so likely to have stage in play that it's like completely irrelevant to play in your deck. And now the counterpoint to that is that if you're playing the Bant matchup and you expect all of your tutors to get countered, then you should play two fields. Except I kind of think with Saga as well in your deck, it doesn't really matter because like they have to get rid of both of those essentially for it to work out.
Yeah. So yeah, but back to basics is so one of the cards that you worry about, and that one answers Saga, but it doesn't really answer Field.
Right. So
So
that's the other reason. But I don't think people pay main deck back to basics either generally very
yeah,
often. So I think
I
it's
mean,
okay to have uh it's okay to have field in the sideboard only, essentially.
right. Well, I'm just
And
kind of throwing everything into this deck right now, so I don't know, but
yeah, and
so
I would advise you in these lists to just like look at your card count and see if it actually makes sense.
I always play at least 15. I don't know what your
Yeah,
thoughts are on that.
but it's not just 15. It's how does it work if your Mox Diamonds get killed or whatever? What how does it work if you're playing three colors? There's a lot to think about.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. But 2 colors, then the fetches are as good as Mox Diamonds, effectively.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like you have a little bit more room to play more colorless lands if you want to.
Yeah, you could see that. So if we were to play Shadow Spear, how high are you on Richard Port? Because like that's the card that I tend to cut for other things.
Not that high. I would probably only play like two right now. I
Like
mean,
two.
in the matchup, exactly. I think in the Bant matchup, it's like pretty important, but I don't think it's really important very many other places. There.
Yeah, 2 ports. I was on 2 Ghost Quarter as like a kind of a I don't know a
But
compromise.
but
But
what is why is Ghost Quarter good right now? Like, what is it good against?
I don't know. Sometimes it feels like it's good against Delver, but
I don't really
too
like the
slow.
okay. Here's the thing: the most popular Delver deck plays three basic lands. I don't think that really works the way you want it to, right?
I, yeah, I think I agree with that.
I don't think that card's necessary right now, so I probably or you can just play like one and like two ports or something like that. But really depends on what you're trying to target, I would say.
Hmm. Well, something like this might be a start if you wanted to play Shadow Spear, right? So I think we have to cut a few cards and get more green sources, but
Well, you also need to play, I think, 2 punishing for error, I think, is
All
minimum
right.
as well.
So I knew I was missing something. These two, I think, probably don't need retrofit or foundry, though it's better with spear.
I think I would. I think the spear plus foundry makes sense. I don't think I would main deck the chasm. I would just put it in my sideboard.
Okay, we need like one more green source. I think I'll just play a canopy land. That's 15 green. What would be the 4 cuts? Maybe needle goes to the board. Oh, I think we can go to 2 port like you were saying. Still 37 lands. Well, anyway, that's our time. I won't make you stay longer. I don't think about it.
Yeah, it just think about it. Just write. I think what people don't do often is just write everything down about the deck list and see if all of the points make sense. I think there's a real temptation to just go play and see if your ideas work without thinking about it first.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do that.
I mean, everyone does it because it's so easy to do, right? That's the issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it for now. I'll send you the information in a bit, and I don't know when I'll post the video. Probably within a day or two.
Yeah, no rush. Cool. All right. Well, then I'll look for your message and
Yeah.
talk to you later. Have a good day.
Yep. See it.